Hi guys, my name is Asabo Laolua, and it is me answering 100 questions that I know that married people ask themselves. Now, the question I want to answer today might look like a question that popped up because of the trend in social media presently. But I would also say that even before now, I have had to write on my Facebook about 3 different notes on my Facebook addressing certain signs that you should know before you get married. And I think one of them I named it the signs I always tell. You can actually go to my Facebook and check Asabo Olaoluwa, check my notes on my profile page. You see one of the notes that I wrote about this particular issue. But I'm going to answer it as a question today. What's the question? My spouse physically abuses me. Should I still stay in the marriage? Now, oftentimes, once we talk about abuse in marriage, especially physical abuse, we already know that it leans more to the man abusing the woman in the marriage being the victim, and that's the angle from which I'll be answering. And that, suffice to say, does not mean that there are no other forms of abuse in marriages. There are psychological abuses, there are emotional abuses, the mental abuses, but the one we see predominantly often is the physical abuse. But it doesn't also mean that there are no emotional, psychological, or mental abuse in marriages. But let's look at this one, physical abuse in marriage. Now, in a way, our religious mindset oftentimes doesn't let us want to face certain realities. Now, I'm going to say this, I wrote something on my Facebook about maybe about 3 months ago, and I said that you were looking for a God-fearing man, and you're looking for the man in a bar. You're looking for a God-fearing woman, and you're looking out for her in an hotel. And you expect that when you get married as couples, this person should be the example of the woman you want. Sometimes we fantasize our realities, and our actions do not commiserate with these realities. So when I talk about that thing on my Facebook, and I said the signs are always there, those are areas, gray areas that I spoke about. But sometimes because you're dating or you're courting, and then you get this person offended, maybe the guy, because that's what I'm talking from, you get him offended and he says, "Are you stupid? Can't you think?" And he says that to you while you're courting, and then you feel offended, and you're like, "Why would he say that to me?" And then maybe after an hour or 2 hours later, he apologizes to you, and then he compensates you with maybe taking you to a lounge, or take you to a bar or to a restaurant, tells you to order for anything, or he takes you to a boutique and then, or a supermarket, and then he says, "Take anything," and then you're fine with that, you go on. And then another time it occurs again, he insults you and then almost says that, "Did your parents not teach you at all?" And then you have all of these things happening while you're courting. And then maybe at a point in time, he raises his hand against you, or you're strolling and then he pushes you aggressively, and then he apologizes. He says that it was a mistake, he was just out of annoyance, and then he gives you all of those signs while you are courting. But you chose to say that he's going to change, and then you get married to him. And the worst of all is that then we get into a religious circle or a religious system that gives us marital vows that were not written in the Bible, that were created by ourselves. And then we get to listen to things like "till death do us part." And because the statement "till death do us part" means that you've been told that it's for better or worse, and then because they say for better or worse, you think that when he beats you, that's the worst, and you're supposed to bear that. When he insults you, that's the worst, but you have to bear it because you have made a marital vow that says for better or worse. And then you stay there and you get physically abused, you get psychologically abused, you get emotionally abused, and then you stay there because you don't want the societies to stigmatize you or brand you with a name, and then you live in that marriage. Recently on social media, I've heard of more than 2 cases where these women had to stay in the marriages, and then they eventually died because of the religious clause or the societal stigmatization that why did you divorce, and then you decided to stay in that marriage, and then you lose your life. I give all these narratives because I want you to understand that once there is a physical abuse in the marriage, it is no longer a marriage. A marriage is supposed to serve as a form of protection, as a shield for the woman, for the children, and then because Man is playing the role of a father, of a protector, of a guide, of a guard. When he fails in doing that, when he becomes the predator instead of being the protector, then that is no longer a marriage. A marriage is supposed to protect the family physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, in all ramifications that could be fears to the parties involved. Once the guy who is supposed to be the protector deviates from that and becomes a wife beater or makes you a punching bag, then it is no longer a marriage. It's a torture. If you ask me, I will tell you to get out of that marriage. That is the honest truth. Get out of that marriage. The truth is this: if you don't get out of it because you think the society will say that she's divorced or that you might not be able to get somebody else to marry, if you die bearing such emotional, mental, psychological, physical torture, this man will get married to another woman. And so you think that, I understand the fact that oftentimes because you have spent 7, 6, 5, 3, 10 years in marriages, there have been investment, there have been commitment, you have given your body, you've given your heart, your soul, your spirit, your mind to it, and you feel that getting out of it and starting over again is work. Do you now think that staying inside it and dying there is good? Not a natural death. A death that is caused because you want to stay in a marriage that traumatizes you. You ask me over and over again, I'm saying this with all of the emotions in my heart. Honestly. You see that? I'm saying this with all of the emotions in my heart. If there is an abuse in a marriage, physical abuse, a man slaps you, punches you, get out of the marriage. And honestly, if you start seeing the signs even in the relationship, he yells at you in the public and says, amongst your friends, amongst his friends, or he slaps you in the relationship, not a marriage yet, a dating or a courting, get out of the relationship. There are many men in this world, many men, not just many men, many responsible women who would value you and respect you and treat you as the woman that you are. Why must you die because of someone? Now, I also understand that because sometimes some women don't actually get to build themselves personally, financially, and become strong forces on their own financially or mentally. They could be scared that if they get out of marriage, maybe the man wants to take the kids, or if she has to take the kids, she has to be a financial burden. And that is why I always tell women, even if you don't want to do a 9-to-5 job, be industrious. You can trade, you can sell business, you can sell things, you can go into forex, you can do many things that will fetch you money, just ways that are legitimate. And so it means that as a woman too, not because you are intending to divorce, you should also be financially strong. You don't have to depend on the man, because when it is sometimes in the cases of physical abuse, some women don't leave because they feel that how will they survive, or this man is the one feeding his family, feeding his father, feeding our family and father, brothers, sending them to school. And that's because you are not also financially independent on your own. I'm not saying that you're trying to be a loggerhead with your husband, but it also means that you have to be financially independent. I don't want to say that marriage should not be termed as an achievement, because a successful marriage is an achievement, so I will not say that, but I'm saying that marriage is not the only thing you came to do in life. Don't let marriage cut you short of every other thing that you need to achieve in life. I say this with all sincerity of heart. There is a purpose for your life that is also beyond marriage, and you should not let marriage frustrate that. So if you are in an abusive relationship, if you are in a marriage that is abusive, physically abusive, get out of it. Sometimes people get to die in those marriages because they don't speak out, because they don't share those things with people who would help them out, because they don't want to face the monster and fight out. You know that when you speak it with people, the answer they will give you is what you don't want to embrace yet, because these people might push you to get out of the marriage. And then some people don't even want to counsel you, because they feel that when they tell you, you might still go back to that person, and it is the person who counsel you that looks like the demon, like the bad person who wants to spoil your marriage. I know that this is one of the reasons some pastors don't even actually try to advise the people getting it, that physical abusive relationship should separate. But see, if I were you and I love my life, I will get out of that relationship. If I've answered your question, you can chat me up on Facebook, on Instagram, or on any of my social media platforms till I come your way again. Stay good.